The world watched with great concern as the conflict between Israel and Iran reached a dangerous new level in June 2025. After Israel launched a major military operation called Operation Rising Lion on June 13th, many expected Iran to be weakened. Israel's attacks were powerful and aimed at important places. They hit Iran's nuclear facilities, like the ones at Natanz and the Arak heavy water reactor. They also targeted military bases and command centers across the country. The goal of Israel's operation was clear: to stop Iran's nuclear program and damage its ability to fight back. The attacks were sudden and caused significant destruction inside Iran, leading to many questions about what would happen next in the Middle East. However, Iran's reaction was not one of surrender. Instead, it launched a strong and surprising counteroffensive against Israel. This response, named Operation Veritable Promise 3, showed that Iran was still very capable of fighting. Using hundreds of missiles and advanced drones, Iran aimed its weapons directly at the heart of Israel. This was a bold move that changed the nature of the conflict. It was no longer a war fought only over Iran's territory. Iran brought the fight directly to Israeli cities, forcing people there to experience the fear and disruption of war in a way they had not expected. The counteroffensive was designed to send a clear message: any attack on Iran would have serious consequences for Israel. The Iranian attacks were carefully planned to hit important and symbolic targets inside Israel. The goal was to cause as much disruption as possible and show that even Israel's strong military could be challenged. The strikes were not limited to military sites. They targeted the very centers of Israeli life. Cities like Tel Aviv, Haifa, and even Jerusalem were hit by Iranian projectiles. This strategy was meant to create pressure on the Israeli government and military. By hitting cities and important infrastructure, Iran demonstrated that its military reach was long and its weapons could get past Israel's famous air defense systems. This powerful response surprised many international observers and military experts around the world. This massive wave of attacks from Iran was a direct answer to the damage Israel had caused. While Israel's Operation Rising Lion had struck what it called military and nuclear targets, Iran claimed many civilians were killed in those strikes. Iranian officials reported that over 240 people had died, and more than 1,200 were wounded in the initial Israeli attacks. In response, Iran decided to show it could inflict similar pain. The counteroffensive was not just a military action, it was a political statement. Iran wanted to prove that it would not be intimidated, and that it had the power to defend itself by hitting back hard, making the conflict much more dangerous for both sides. The impact of Iran's counteroffensive was felt deeply across Israel, as cities and towns faced attacks on an unprecedented scale. Daily life, which had felt secure for many Israelis, was suddenly filled with the sound of air raid sirens and the frightening reality of explosions. In the southern city of Be'er Sheva, a ballistic missile struck the Soroka Medical Center, the largest hospital in the region. The attack caused major damage to the building and started a large fire, injuring at least 65 people in that single event. Iran claimed the real target was a military intelligence base nearby, but hitting a hospital caused widespread fear and showed that nowhere was truly safe from the missile barrages. The attacks were not just in the south, they reached major economic and population centers. In the northern port city of Haifa, one of Israel's most important industrial areas, the large Basin oil refinery was hit. This strike caused a massive fire and disrupted Israel's energy supply, sending a powerful message about the country's economic vulnerability. Meanwhile, in the busy city of Tel Aviv, a high-rise apartment building was struck, and several other residential buildings were destroyed in the area. These attacks on civilian homes brought the war directly to the people, creating a sense of panic and forcing thousands to flee their homes in search of safety from the constant threat of missiles. The human cost of these attacks grew with each passing day. Israeli officials reported that at least 24 civilians were killed and more than 200 were wounded across the country. In Tel Aviv alone, one of the most populated cities, at least 40 people were injured. The damage to homes and infrastructure was extensive, with over 5,000 people officially classified as homeless because their houses were destroyed or too damaged to live in. The constant threat of attack forced millions of Israelis into bomb shelters. The country's main international airport, Ben Gurion Airport, had to close, leaving thousands of Israelis stranded abroad and cutting the country off from the rest of the world. This situation created a new and difficult reality for Israel. For the first time in a long while, the country's advanced air defense system, the Iron Dome, seemed overwhelmed. Iran used a large number of drones and missiles at the same time, a tactic designed to get past Israel's defenses. While the Iron Dome intercepted many projectiles, some always managed to get through, causing death and destruction. This showed a weakness in Israel's defense strategy and brought the fear of war directly into its cities. The once unbreakable sense of security that many Israelis felt was now shattered, as the conflict with Iran proved to be far more costly and dangerous than many had imagined. Many people watching the conflict unfold could not help but see similarities between Iran's actions against Israel and Israel's own military operations in Gaza. For years, the world has seen images of destruction in Gaza, where Israeli airstrikes have hit hospitals, schools, and residential buildings. Now, Iran seemed to be using a similar strategy. By targeting civilian infrastructure like the Soroka Medical Center and apartment buildings in Tel Aviv, Iran was showing Israel what it felt like to have its cities and essential services attacked. This approach was very controversial, as it involved harming civilians, but it was a clear attempt by Iran to make Israel feel the same kind of pain and pressure that Palestinians have experienced. This strategy was a deliberate choice by Iran to change the rules of the conflict. In the past, wars with Israel were often fought through other groups or in other countries. This time, Iran directly attacked Israeli cities, aiming to prove that Israel's population was not safe from harm. The disruption to daily life in Israel, with schools closed, businesses shut down, and people constantly running to shelters, was very similar to the situation in Gaza. This parallel was not lost on the international community. Some observers believed Iran was trying to show the world that the destruction seen in Gaza could also happen in Israel, challenging the idea that Israel could conduct its military campaigns without facing direct consequences at home. Iran's leaders likely believed that this strategy would give them a strategic advantage. By making the war incredibly costly for Israeli civilians, they hoped to create political pressure inside Israel to end the conflict. They also wanted to challenge Israel's military dominance in the region. For a long time, Israel has been seen as having the strongest military, able to strike its enemies without fear of a major response. Iran's ability to hit important targets deep inside Israel, including its biggest cities, showed that this was no longer entirely true. Iran proved it could fight back in a way that directly threatened Israel's security and stability, a significant shift in the power balance of the Middle East. This approach also served to justify Iran's actions to its own people and its allies. After suffering from Israel's initial attacks, which killed many Iranian civilians and destroyed key infrastructure, Iran could present its counteroffensive as a necessary and fair response. They argued that they were simply doing to Israel what Israel had done to others. This narrative helped rally support for the government at home and sent a message to other countries in the region that Iran was a strong power that would not back down. While the world condemned the targeting of civilians on both sides, Iran's strategy successfully brought the realities of modern warfare directly to Israel's doorstep, changing the conflict forever. The conflict has created a new and uncertain reality for both Iran and Israel, with no clear winner in sight. While Israel's initial strikes were powerful, they failed to stop Iran from fighting back. Iran lost military leaders and important facilities, but its response showed surprising strength and resilience. The counterattacks proved that Iran could endure a major assault and still inflict serious damage on its enemy. This has changed how other countries view the military balance in the Middle East. Iran has shown that it is a formidable power, capable of challenging Israel's long-held military superiority and bringing the fight directly to its cities, a development that has major implications for regional security. The international community has responded with alarm and calls for peace. Countries like Russia and China, along with many Arab states, have condemned Israel's initial attacks, questioning the reasons Israel gave for starting the conflict. Many have pointed out that international intelligence agencies, including the IAEA, did not agree with Israel's claim that Iran was close to building a nuclear weapon. This has led to diplomatic pressure on Israel. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting, and leaders from countries like France have urged both sides to stop fighting. Meanwhile, Iran has engaged in diplomacy, meeting with European officials to find a peaceful solution while insisting it has the right to defend itself. Despite the calls for peace, the situation remains tense. The United States has sent warships to the region and issued strong warnings to Iran, but it has not yet joined the fighting directly. This leaves Israel in a difficult position. It started the conflict to eliminate what it saw as a major threat, but it now finds itself in a costly war that has brought fear and destruction to its own people. The attacks on its cities have challenged the government's ability to protect its citizens and have raised questions about the wisdom of the initial operation. The conflict has not achieved a quick victory for Israel. Instead, it has led to a dangerous and unpredictable war of attrition. In conclusion, while neither side has won, Iran's bold counteroffensive has fundamentally changed the conflict. The war is far from over, and both nations have suffered terrible losses, with many civilians killed and injured. However, Iran's ability to strike back with such force has shattered Israel's sense of security and brought the war home to its citizens in a way that has not been seen before. The missile and drone attacks have exposed vulnerabilities in Israel's defenses and created a new strategic reality. As the world calls for de-escalation, a new, more dangerous chapter in the long and troubled history between Iran and Israel has begun, with the risks higher than ever before.